Welcome to Magnus Carlsen's top 10 most brutal winning combinations from the past 2 weeks. Magnus reclaiming his throne as the king of BLITZ, kicking Hikaru Nakamura out of the #1 spot on chess.com, and in the process playing some truly savage moves, 10 of which I have selected to show you right now. For each position, I will give you the opportunity to find the winning tactic that Magnus executed, so there is a training opportunity here if you want it. I've saved best moves for last, so you'll want to stick around to the very end of the video because these Magnus moves just get more brilliant as we go. So without any further delay, let's delve into our first position. It's Magnus to move here with the black pieces, and you can think of this as sort of a warm-up, not too incredibly difficult to spot, but what killer move did Magnus play in this position that caused white to immediately resign the game? Pause the video and have a look. Here it comes in 3, 2, 1. Knight to e4 attacks the white queen, and she has nowhere to go. Her Majesty is trapped and will no longer be participating in this game after Magnus makes his next move. So always make sure that your most powerful pieces have some squares. This next one is a double feature. It's Magnus to move with white, and as incredible as it may seem, the game will be over in only 2 moves. You are invited to find both of them, so take a minute or an hour and see if you can identify the strongest move for white in this position. In 3, 2, 1. E5 is the aggressive pawn thrust that Magnus played, attacking the knight on f6, to which black responded, d takes e5. And if you are asking, why did Magnus just sacrifice a pawn? Then you are obviously not aware of a fatal tactic which is lurking in this position, a move which Magnus now unleashes on his poor opponent, the 14-year-old prodigy and master, Andy Woodward, and that tactical shot comes in 3, 2, 1. Bishop takes f7 check, winning the queen and prompting immediate resignation. Black has only one legal move, and that is king takes f7, after which the black queen falls. In this next position, Magnus has the black pieces. He's a bit up in material, but it could be a long, difficult road to victory. What move does he find now that ends the game very quickly? It's black to move and win in 3, 2, 1. Knight to f5 check takes advantage of the pin on the g-pawn by the rook on c4 and forces mate. After white plays his only legal move, king to h5, allowing Magnus to deliver a beautiful checkmate with the move g6. Very nice coordination of the knights and the pawns. In our next position, we have an endgame where you can see that Magnus, who is playing white, clearly has a winning position, and there are several routes to victory, but only one of them is the quickest and the cleanest. What was the engine move that Magnus comes up with here to settle matters very quickly in 3, 2, 1. Rook takes f5 is a brutal clarification of the situation. After g takes f5, g6, and the pawn begins to run. It must be stopped with rook to g2, after which king takes f5 gives white a simple win. His king can make its way to f8, shielded by his bishop from any rook checks from behind, and he will simply guide the g-pawn in to the promised land. The black king is in no position to get involved on the king side as it has babysitting duty, watching over the c-pawn, so it doesn't promote. Another important detail is that the white bishop controls the promotion square of the pawn on a2. If that was not the case, then black could secure a draw, but I heavily digress. Let's move on to our next position. Here Magnus Carlsen has the white pieces and is up in material, but is facing the imminent threat of checkmate beginning with queen to f2. How does he clean up this mess of a position and take away the full point? Can you find white's most decisive move in 3, 2, 1. Bishop to g7 check is how we begin. Black has only one legal reply, king takes g7, which allows queen takes e7 with check. That's important. Now the black king must choose between 3 very nasty options. Option 1 is king to h8, running into a checkmate in one move. Queen to f8 is mate. Option 2, king to g8, running into bishop to c4 check, winning the black queen. Option 3, the move that was played in the game, king to h6, steps right into a checkmate in one, which Magnus spotted right away, with rook to h1, checkmate. So crisp, so clean, but we're only about halfway through. The real brilliancies are yet to come. Here Magnus Carlsen has the white pieces and they are all pointed towards black's king. What does he do to cause his 2800 rated opponent to resign in 2 moves? In 3, 2, 1. Rook takes a6 is how he begins. And if that rook were to be captured with b takes a6, there would be a mate in 3 with bishop to a7 check, king to c8, queen takes c6 check, queen to c7, and queen takes c7 checkmate. So black, realizing that and clearly in a panic, plays bishop to d4 instead. Unfortunately, this also allows a mate in 3, starting with rook takes b7 check, a move which compelled black to throw in the towel. If the game were to continue, it would conclude like so. King takes b7, queen takes c6 check, king to b8, and rook to a8 checkmate. And I should point out that if you thought that this combination should begin with rook takes b7, then you are absolutely correct. It is also crushing, so give yourself full credit for that. In this next one, Magnus Carlsen has the white pieces and is about to do something vicious. Can you predict his destructive next move? In 3, 2, 1. Rook to h7 check is all it takes to convince black to discontinue this game. So let's see why. Black has only 2 legal moves here. King to f8 is obviously bad after rook to h8, attacking the bishop on g8 twice while pinning it to the king. Black will lose a piece. The critical line, of course, is bishop takes h7. Rook takes h7 check, king to f8, the only move, rook to h8 check, king to g7, again, only move, rook takes, winning a piece, and what's worse, threatening checkmate with rook to g8, which black has no defense against besides sacrificing even more material with desperado moves like rook takes e4 check. What a nightmare. But now things are about to get really nutty. In this next one, Magnus again has white, is down a pawn, but has a raging attack brewing. If you wanted to be like Magnus, which of course we all do, what should you play as white here to end the game in 6 moves? In 3, 2, 1. Knight takes f7 is how we begin. And that horsey is immune from capture, for if king takes f7, there would follow a mate in 3 with queen to g6 check, king to f8, bishop to h6 check, rook takes bishop, and queen to g8 checkmate. So what was played in the game was rook to h7, trying to be tricky, hoping for queen takes h7, abandoning this long diagonal to the white king, and allowing black to execute a nasty discovered check with knight to f6 check, hitting the white queen, which incredibly is still winning for white because of the move bishop to e4, with a counterattack on the black queen. So after queen takes e4, queen takes e4, knight takes e4, and knight to h6, white is still up the exchange and should win. But Magnus has the good sense not to capture the rook because he has spotted a way to end the game a lot quicker, in 5 moves to be precise. We'll call this a bonus position. What should white play now to force checkmate in 5 moves? In 3, 2, 1. Rook to g8 check. Now if king takes f7, then queen to g6 is check and mate, so the only legal alternative is king takes g8. But here comes queen takes h7, check, king goes to f8, bishop to h6 check, forces king to e8 as it's the only move. Now queen to g8 check, and again black has only one legal move, that is bishop to f8, after which queen takes f8 is checkmate. Which brings us to our final position, and this is one that has been getting a lot of attention because it's here that Magnus, who is playing white, found a truly beautiful series of moves. In this position, Magnus has just captured the knight on f6 with his bishop. His opponent has captured his knight on f3 with a pawn and is now expecting Magnus to retreat his bishop, who is under attack. He probably expects Magnus to play something like bishop to h4, and then he can attack it again with queen to h5, and after something like bishop to g3, he can take on g2, and if Magnus were to capture with his king, then he gets himself into some trouble on the light squares, starting with bishop to g4. But this is not what happened. Magnus, to his opponent's horror, does not need to retreat his bishop from f6. He has something much juicier. See if you can find the truly terrifying series of moves that Magnus unleashes on his opponent in 3, 2, 1. Rook to d5. You gotta watch out for those in-between moves. The black queen is hit and should move, and she does so with queen to b6. And surely Magnus needs to move his bishop now, right? Wrong. He now uncorks rook to g5, which will actually force checkmate in another 7 moves, which is why black decided to end the game with a timely resignation, which was not at all premature. Magnus has pinned the g-pawn to the black king with his rook and is now threatening to capture it. And you can choose your poison. If you're the type of person that enjoys a mate in 7 more than you enjoy a mate in 2, then you are going to want to play rook to d8 and allow rook takes g7 check, king to f8, rook takes f7 check, king to e8, queen takes h7, at which point white is threatening mate in 1 with either queen to g8 or queen to h8, which black can only delay by making some silly moves as follow: queen to b1 check, rook takes b1, rook to d1 check, rook takes d1, knight to e7, rook takes e7 check, king to f8, and queen to h8, checkmate. So there is your mate in 7. But back here, if you prefer a quicker, albeit maybe less obvious checkmate, you're going to want to try g6, which to the unexperienced player might look like black has avoided imminent checkmate, but he has not, and white can now finish him off with rook takes g6 check. If you notice that black's f-pawn is pinned and cannot capture the rook, then congratulations. And if you further noticed that after h takes g6, that queen takes g6 is checkmate, then you should look forward to using this tactical theme yourself to score some wins, as it will present itself from time to time, even at the highest level. So that concludes my coverage of some of the highlights of Magnus Carlsen's Blitz games over the past 2 weeks. If you enjoyed this and want to see more videos like it, let me know in the comments and consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you next time.